Hey guys, welcome back to Sam Plays Chess. This is day 12 of my 90-day research back challenge where I play chess every day with a single focus that comes from the sources. And these are Grandmaster videos or documents. And I've grounded them all and I'm coming up with a different plan each day based on these. Today's plan is going to be wishful thinking or prophylactic thinking, where I think about my opponent's moves and try and stop them from doing what they want to do, basically. So, without further ado, I'll dive into the analysis, but just a quick one. If you're getting a lot of value out of this, really appreciate a subscribe or a like, or just to understand what you like and don't like. So, drop a comment in there with that. I'd really appreciate that. And I've dropped some free resources in the comments. So that's my template for the plan, as well as the notebook LM file with the chatbot, and you can generate loads of resources from that as well. All right, let's jump into the review today. Now, my main focus of today is to get the Jababa London in this line. That's the primary focus in this exact position. But my core focus of today is prophylactic thinking. So I'm thinking about my opponent's moves and their attacks. And I think in a line that I know well, it's a lot easier, and I had some realizations that you'll see later on in the game that might provide some value to you. But in this position, I'm already looking at an attack because I can't really see two strong threats from my opponent when they play this because I know a lot of the theory behind it. So that helps in some positions where, okay, I think my opponent is going to do something and I already know what to do if they do that. That really helps a lot. And I think that's where openings help in this situation. But I try and talk it through as we go. So, okay, let's continue with the video and we'll go up to the first key moment in which, if we just skip forward a little bit, I do get my bishop out, I play f3. And now, right, this is the key moment. I'm waiting for my opponent to play knight to f6. Now, when they do, I'm then going to launch this pawn storm with g4 and h4. And then I'll look to play g5. So I've got a very strong position. And I look to trade bishops, as you'll see in a moment here. So it does come out. I do play this pawn storm. And as that comes through there, as I say, I'm looking to trade this bishop off, which now has moved multiple times. So at this point, I'm considering my opponent's options, which is good. That was the key focus of today. But ultimately, that's my game plan at the moment, is to trade that bishop. So I'm thinking a little bit about that also. My opponent plays very fast, and this is the advantage in these kind of positions where I've got a strong position. I know I'm probably going to get a strong position because my opponent's looking to trade. They're making the moves that I know. This does happen. Now, I'm thinking about my opponent's threats here now. Uh, Considering the possibility that he'll take the bishop, but that's not a strong possibility. I'm not wishful thinking. I'm thinking about, okay, he is playing fast. This is a possibility. It's not the only thing he's going to do. And I'm thinking about what's the best situation if that happens. So, I want to get my knight out and perhaps recapture with my knight, and I consider either e2 or h3 for the knight in order to recapture. And I ultimately go for e2. It's a bit more central. Um, and then perhaps at some point I can consider g3 if he doesn't take. And then I'm looking to castle queenside in this case. So let's continue. That's one of the key moments where I'm considering my opponent's options. Although, there's other options, as I've said before, where to like develop the knight, develop the queen, perhaps castle kingside, which would be a mistake at this point. But yeah, my opponent does very quickly take. Now, I think about their possibilities here. Now, castling kingside would be a big mistake here, actually, because my pawns are so advanced. I've got such a space advantage on the kingside. I just don't think they're going to do that. I think it's much more likely that they're going to castle queenside. But as I say, don't entirely base everything on that. So I'm considering other options. Um, and I considered moves like, getting that pawn forward, perhaps, hitting c5, but then that makes the queen side very weak. And I think if they don't play that move or a kind of move like this, I'm just going to castle, and they're probably going to castle queen side. And then I can play this move g5. So let's move on with the game a little bit. My opponent does go, and I get this move g5, and we end up in a position a little bit later in this position. Now, this is very, very strong for me because I'm attacking their knight. Their knight has to go back. The only safe square is back on the back rank on g7, and I'm already got a very attacking position here, and that's key in this game. So My opponent, or yeah, has to move there, playing very fast, and that pawn is under attack, so I have to defend it or push it forward. I consider that move, but then I just hang a pawn. So I think first, okay, my opponent's probably going to attack that pawn. What other moves do they have? They don't really have. The knight can go to, b6, which is kind of, yeah, okay, it's moving over towards my king, but there's no immediate threat. So I think I have to move this pawn forward, and I ultimately do go for that. My opponent very quickly castles, and I consider this for quite a long time. I run through my opponent's options and my options, and I think, yeah, okay, my opponent can get the knight back into the game. They can move it back to f6 at some point, perhaps. But I don't really want to give them time to do that. So I do, start attacking, or if they do that, I want to attack something. So I do consider this option for a long time, and then I ultimately go and start attacking this pawn because I realize I can recapture the pawn very easily with the queen. And I'm ultimately looking here now, once we're in this position, I want a queen trade because I know that I can take this pawn and create a very uncomfortable position for my opponent if I capture this pawn on g6. And ultimately, that's what happens. My opponent kind of runs out of moves. I capture this pawn, and then my opponent just makes a blunder by bringing the rook across. So, all things considered, very happy with the game that I played today. And, the my opponent, sorry, obviously my opponent resigns very quickly after that fork because they're just down a whole rook basically. But yeah, overall very very happy with that game, and I'll keep continuing with a focus from my research. There's loads of resources there for you guys that are completely free, so check those out in the description. And yeah, hope you enjoy. See you in the next days. Bye bye.